both sides of the conversation, family. We welcome you to this virtual space crafted especially for you. My name is Jada Curry, and I'm both sides of the conversation's marketing director and graphics design specialist. I want to take some time to ground us all as a community into this space we're about to open up in, so let's go through our community standards. Both sides of the conversation is providing a safe and honest space for open conversation, so we ask that you all be respectful of that. We also ask that you be respectful of each panelist, host, and participant. We do encourage healthy debates and conversations. Don't personalize anything with anyone. This includes name-calling, bullying, trolling, or shaming. This will not be allowed or tolerated. Your perspective is yours. It is not a prescription. You do not have to agree, but show respect. These community standards apply to all of our live shows and any virtual spaces that we hold on social media, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We want to make sure that we are caring for each other as a community. This is our priority in all of our endeavors as both sides of the conversation. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's show and continue to stay in touch with us via YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or all of them. All right, thank you for listening and see you soon.
Welcome, everybody, to both sides of the conversation. I'm John Henry, Executive Director. Today is Thursday, so you know what that means. We're going to have another educational presentation tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking about legacy planning. You all know here at both sides of the conversation, we want to do our part to intentionally give our community the information, the education that it needs that sometimes we just don't get. So tonight, we have two phenomenal guests. They've been here before. They're coming back to spread that financial literacy, that financial education, that financial information that sometimes we don't get. And they're going to give us a nice presentation tonight. Hopefully you find this information useful. Please reach out to them if you need to as we get ready for tonight's presentation. With that being said, we're just going to go over a couple of quick announcements for this before we start tonight's show. One, President Biden's $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill clears the Senate. It still has to go to the House of Representatives to get passed fully. With that being passed is very important. A lot of Americans here will be getting Medicare and different things like that covered. Also, federal programs will be funded inside of this package. So definitely, if they get that passed, definitely be helping out some of the infrastructure and things that we need in our country, especially our Wi-Fi. As we learned during this pandemic, a lot of our communities were impacted with poor Wi-Fi and different things of that nature, our bridge, highways, and things of that nature. So very important package. I know it should be more, but we'll take what we can to get started. So that's just nice to hear that it's moving along very, very fast here. Also, California will be the first state in the nation to require COVID-19 vaccinations or weekly tests for school teachers. They are the first state to do it here in California. Each teacher will have to take a test, or if they refuse to get the vaccination, they'll be having to do weekly tests. As we're starting to head back into school, I know the school district in San Francisco will start next week. So a lot of our young people are going to be coming back to school for the first time in almost a year or so. So it's going to be very important to see what's happened. I've been watching across the news, across the states. There's been a number of schools who already have had the spread of COVID, and a lot of those schools are considering closing back down. So hopefully we get off to a good start here in San Francisco, but there have been some surges in different states and things of that nature. So hopefully we get vaccinated, we get people encouraged to go out there and do your part to stop the spread of this because it's very important. I know there's a lot of questions and a lot of concerns about it, and we're going to have a conversation this Sunday about it as well. So just wanted to put that out there to the community. Also in San Francisco, Mayor Breed announced today that many of the indoor activities will require full proof of vaccination status. So that means bars, movie theaters, bowling alleys, different indoor events We will be the first city to start asking people to show proof of their vaccination status. So, as this Delta variant keeps spreading, more and more cities, counties, and states will be enforcing these vaccination reports and things of that nature. So that's just something else for community to think about. If you want to get out and do stuff, a lot of these restaurants and stuff are going to be not allowing services to community that is not vaccinated. So very important to just think about that as well as we move forward with this. Also, some of the community events this weekend for all the community out there. Be Magic is sponsoring their 18th annual backpack giveaway. It will be this Saturday at 155 Jenny Streets at Cargo Way from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We will be out there. The Both Sides of Conversation team will be out there helping support the backpack giveaway. There'll be food, free haircuts, uniforms. There'll be some raffles, a resource fair. We will have COVID testing and vaccinations taking place there as well. Please, anybody that's coming out, wear a mask. We're going to be social distancing. We're going to be following the rules so we don't spread any viruses of this Delta variant through the people. But it's a great event. Community, we had the Mo Magic backpack giveaway last weekend with Collective Impact. What a phenomenal event to get community out. For those that missed that backpack giveaway, we are hoping to see you out there. Come bring your kids, get a backpack, get some of the supplies and things that they're going to need for the school year. We know a lot of families have been impacted financially. So just to have that support out there with free haircuts and different things of that nature, take some of the burden off the families. So we're looking forward to seeing you out there. We'll be out there as well. So it'll be definitely something good. The Village Life is having a back to school cookout on August 14th at 12 p.m. That event will be located at Youngblood Coleman Park at 1398 Hudson Street. That's going to be right around the corner from the Be Magic event. They're going to have a cookout. So if you want to get out there, hang out with community and socialize, there'll be some food and things with the Village Life. So looking forward to that. There's a couple of community concerts that are happening at Indian Basin and on Marin Street. There's a number of events that's taking place. So it should be a nice weekend for community to get out and do things that's going to impact the community. Also, Mobilize Love in the City. They're going to be having a community event in partnership with a number of community organizations as well as the City Eats. They will be hosting on Saturday, August 21st from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It will be located in the Arco Arena parking lot 74 at Mission Rock. Everyone must register for this event to go. They're going to be giving out food, haircuts, household items, new shoes. I think they got a sponsorship from New Balance or Nike. It's going to be raffles. They're going to be giving away bikes, gift cards, Xboxes. There's a lot of stuff for our young people that they're going to do. It is a number of community partners, for us to be out there, City Eats. There's a number of community organizations, Vibes and Smiles, All In, Both Sides of Conversation to be out there helping support those efforts. Please go out there. Everyone that wants to come out, you have to register. So please go onto the Mobilize Love website, or you could go to the cityeats.org and they'll have the volunteer forms. We will be feeding the homeless as well. We're going to need a lot of people to help do outreach because we know down in that area, sometimes those in need won't come into that area because of the over policing or just because of the community. So we're going to be packaging up food. We're going to be doing stuff like we do in our normal homeless feeds. And then we're going to need a number of community people to come out and help take some of that food into the Tenderloins, into District 10, into some of the areas that's impacted. So we're looking for a number of individuals. If you have time that Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., August 21st, please go to mobilizelove.org, sign up as a volunteer, or you could go to the cityeats.org website and sign up. We want some of our young people out there. Families could also come out and participate in the backpack giveaway and stuff, but there will be a big food drive that we're going to help feed those in need. So we need community support. We need volunteers to come out and bless the community. Also, with that being said, the City Eats is going to be doing a broader giveaway. They're going to be doing August 22nd, the next day, that Sunday. They're going to be doing a food distribution give back to the city of Fairfield, Solano County area. They're going to be blessing the people. There's about 200 or so homeless people in the Fairfield area. They've been having teams go out and kind of see throughout the Bay Area where people are at. So on the 22nd of August from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., it will be located at the corner of West Texas and Beck Street in Fairfield. The City Eats, Vibes and Smiles, a number of organizations will be out there blessing the people in the city of Fairfield, Solano County, both sides of the conversation. I'll be out there as well to help support that food drive. Again, if you're in the Solano area, I know both sides of the conversation everywhere. We have a lot of viewers in Vallejo. If you want to come out and support some of those people in need in Fairfield, meet us August the 22nd at 10 a.m. at the corner of West Texas and Beck Street. We'll be out there packaging up the food, distributing it out to those in need in that city as well. Very important stuff to give back. Love to see our young people out there. So if you out in the Vallejo, Solano area, and you're looking for a volunteer opportunity to give back, I know a lot of people miss the City Eats first Saturday and they want to be a part of it and help give back. This is another opportunity for you to give back to community. We'll be up here in the Fairfield area. So very important stuff. Lastly, we got our shows coming up. This Sunday, as I mentioned earlier, we will be having a COVID conversation. We're going to have some doctors come on here, a doctor from UCSF, some public health officials to come talk about the COVID-19 vaccination, also COVID testing, to talk about some of the myths, some of the unknown and misinformation that's been going out. I know people in community has a lot of questions, so hopefully you'll be able to join us this Sunday and have that conversation. And also, we still have a few spots left. It's not all the way booked. So if you're a doctor or you're a clinician or someone that's dealing with COVID vaccination and testing, and you would like to be a part of the conversation, ask some of the community questions as we continue to try to do the outreach, get the right information out to community so everybody's kind of aware and understand, and take some of the difficult questions as well. We would love to have you join us this Sunday as a panelist. Please go to our website and you can log on and sign up to be a panelist for this Sunday's conversation. Next Tuesday, we'll have another segment of our Hidden Gems where we will continue to highlight our Black and Brown businesses as well as our community leaders that are doing phenomenal things to impact our community. As well as everybody know, the Dream Keeper Initiative is out. There's a lot of organizations in the city of San Francisco that's going to be bringing resources and information and things to our city. We are one of the Dream Keeper Initiative grantees. We will be doing a lot of work with helping shift the narrative, tell the story, and bring those resources to our platform to help educate the community where these supports are, where these nonprofits are that's getting these resources that community can connect with. So we'll start being booked up here real soon with a lot of the organizations. We'll be doing our best to make sure that everyone in community know who those Dream Keeper grantees are, where the resources are, how to connect with them, and how to utilize those services that our Mayor Breed and Shamon Walton and Director Davis have worked so hard to get out to the Black and Brown community. There's a lot of opportunities for our community. So looking forward to be a part of that and getting that information out to the community. So more information will be coming down the pipeline. Be looking forward. There's a number of organizations and support services that are coming to impact our community. So stay tuned. Follow us on both sides of the conversation as we will continue to get that information out to community. With that being said, on August 22nd, on that Sunday, we're having a conversation about colorism. Still looking for some more panelists. You know, this is a very important conversation in our community. A lot of people are impacted by it. We're still looking for panelists. So if that is you want to talk about it, or you may have been impacted by or a victim of colorism, please come on. We want to talk, have a conversation about, help educate our community about colorism, how it impacts our community. Should be a great conversation. And then 8/29, the last Sunday of the month, we'll be having another conversation about relationships. What does it look like? How do we fix it? There's so many issues in relationships. It should be a phenomenal conversation as well. How do we bring the love back to our community? As we know, it takes couples and families to work together. And, you know, sometimes these relationships can be very difficult. So looking forward to that conversation. To all the fellas out there, I'm looking for some of the fellas. Come on, sign up. Let's have this conversation. Let's be a part of the conversation. We already have a number of sisters who are signing up, a part of that conversation. I want to get some of the male perspectives on that show. So please sign up, Come support us. Let's have a great conversation. We know this conversation could get triggering. It could be very touching, passionate. I'll get passionate as well. But we need to have this conversation as it's just something that we need to do. Unpack some of the misses and the misters and the different things of that nature. So it should be a great conversation. I'm looking forward. It's gonna be phenomenal, and we're gonna be ready for that. But with that being said, with no further ado, I'm gonna land my plane there and go ahead and yield the mic. I'm gonna go ahead and bring up tonight's guest, who's going to educate us on legacy planning. I think this is very important information. They do a phenomenal job of making sure our community understands and breaking it down in a way that is simple and you could get it. So I'm looking forward to tonight's presentation. With that being said, I'm going to bring up Miss Cynthia and Sean to the screen so that they could go ahead and introduce themselves and bless the community with tonight's presentation.
Go ahead, Cynthia. Ladies first.
All right. Thank you. Yes. Good evening, everyone. I'm Cynthia Yannacone, and I'm Black here at both sides of the conversation. And I've been worked in a nonprofit for over 20 years. I'm also a student of San Francisco State and graduated. And here I am now. And just really excited about today's conversation. I think that you're going to enjoy what you hear. It's not an easy topic, but it's a needed topic. So I'm just excited to be here and to be able to share this information with everyone.
All right. Hey, good evening, everyone. And thank you so much, John Henry, on both sides of the conversation. Appreciate y'all having us back here again. And definitely, before I even give any of my background, I definitely want to give a shout out to y'all for everything that you're doing, for all the efforts going back into the community. That's huge. And I really, really want to encourage everybody to, first off, just be safe. Do what you need to do to protect yourself and your loved ones. But also go out and make sure we're supporting all these other events, because it's about us going out there again, having conversations with each other and going out and supporting the backpack giveaways, supporting the free haircuts, because all of these events, these programs that are out there to bless our youth, to bless our families, if we don't take advantage of them, if we don't support them, if we don't volunteer for them, if we're already blessed, they're not going to be able to keep going. And volunteering has always been big for me in my life. That's actually my Eagle Scout stuff behind me there. I've always been about giving back to the community, from volunteering at Glide since I was a little kid to just any type of community outreach work that I can do. I love to be a part of it. And I'm really, really excited to be able to be here with y'all again tonight and bring some value to you and talk with you, as Cynthia said, about a topic that's not always the easiest thing to talk about, because people don't necessarily want to talk about and think about, well, shoot, what happens down the road, what happens after I'm gone. But it's an important topic, and especially in our communities, it's a critical one that we need to address. So we're happy to be here with you tonight.
All right. Thank you very much. Glad to have you all back. At this time, you guys can go ahead and pull up your PowerPoint presentation and start off and bless the community.
Thank you, John.
All right. There we go.
So I just wanted to share a little bit about why I do what I do. And this is my dad, and my dad passed away in 2018. And unfortunately, there was no legacy planning there. And he didn't have a living trust in place. He didn't have life insurance, and my mom lost his pension plan. And she's also lost her 401k. So all these experiences, like life-changing experiences make for life-changing decisions. And that's when I really had to look into what I was doing. I have my kids, and I had to do something to make sure that they were protected and taken care of. So I am creating a legacy for my children now. But, like I just said, my dad worked for Kaiser. He was a very hard worker, worked there for 46 years, really old school in those ways. And, I just feel like this experience with my dad and all the tough conversations we had about money. And, like I mentioned earlier, I went to school. I was the educated college. And, we had these difficult conversations. But one of the things that had stuck with me, he would say money doesn't grow on trees, or that he was broke. And, all those experiences really stick with me, but I've had to do different things to make different changes. And that's where I'm at. And that's where I am with, with my kids and my whole family, trying to break it, create new ideas and, new things for them. And that's why I'm really excited to be here. And again, appreciate both sides of the conversation for having us. Your mic.
You got to unmute yourself, Sean.
Yeah, Mike.
That's always helpful, isn't it? There we go. Cool. So no, thank you again. Always an honor to be here. It's always fun. It's always a good time because we get to be raw and open up and really have just a no holds bar conversation, which we need to have more of. We really do. And talking about our family legacies, that's something it's always inspired me, and I didn't even realize what it was because my grandfather passed away day before I entered high school, and I was young. I didn't have a clue what was going on there, like most people. Right? You're 16 years old, 15 years old, still trying to figure things out. And I remember asking my dad, "Hey, what's going to happen to our cabin up in Tahoe?" And he said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Gramps had something in place, so when he passed away, the cabin was paid for." I said, "Oh, okay, cool." And I kind of went on about my business and didn't think anything else of it. Just knew, okay, cool, we can still go to the cabin at some point. Now, fast forward to having learned this business and being introduced to financial services and understanding the importance of legacy planning, it's only because my grandparents had things properly planned out that cabin is still in our family today. If it was not, it'd be gone. So beautiful place up there. It's not a huge place. It's not real fancy. I'm not showing off, but it's a small place up there. But you know what? It's fun and it's ours. And we've been able to go up there as a family and really have some awesome times, create some new memories in a place that my grandparents bought, I don't know how many years ago. So that legacy planning is really, really key. And what it can do is it's generations. So it was my grandparents were there, my parents were there, I'm there. You can see my family there, and I've got a child coming in less than a month myself. So we're just keeping the generations coming and coming. And it's just a matter of time before we get 3, 4, 5 generations that are able to be blessed and have some fun up there and say, hey, look, that's our family's place. We can go there. That's the type of things we want to talk about. That's what we want to talk about, putting people in a position to be able to leave those legacies for their families. Now, there's a lot of ways to do it, and they don't have to be really complicated. But the problem is, as much as we want to do it, most people don't have the conversation. They don't plan. I'm sure we've all heard prior planning prevents poor performance, but let's think about it now as prior planning prevents poor families. We can put our families in an equitable position. We can put them in a good, positive position. We can leave something for them. Could it be millions? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to say this, that I got from a friend, Jessica, the other day, that, you know what, this legacy planning, these financial services, financial options, budgets, yes, it is for you. It is for you. It is something that is for you that you deserve to have. So let's sit down and talk about it some more. Let's not be afraid. Now, let's not say, hey, it's for those people over there, or it's for people that don't look like me. No, it is for you. And we need y'all to understand that, because that's why we're here. That's our mission, to go out there and talk to families and make sure that everybody has the opportunity to be in the best position they can. So think about this. Prince has been gone for years now, and he apparently left no valid will. Since he didn't have a will, Prince didn't exercise his right to determine who would and who would not inherit his share of the estate, or who would get what. I don't care if it's your favorite pillow that you've always loved. Well, guess what? If we don't say who we want to leave it to, who knows who's going to get it? No matter what we have in place, we've got something that's valuable. And we probably, if it's something that's valuable to us, we probably want to make sure it goes to the right person. We want to at least make sure it stays in the family. Now, think about Prince here. He had a ton of money, but nobody set him up. Nobody protected his family. They've actually turned his family, his home, into a museum. Now, do you really think his family wanted to do that? Or do you think they wanted to be able to enjoy that home, that lavish home that Prince built? No, they turned it into a museum so that they could help with some of the lawyer fees that are in the multiple 6 figures a year, because they're still fighting over everything. I don't want to do that to my family. I don't want to leave my family in this strife to try and figure out who gets what and making sure the lawyers get more money. That's not what it's about. Look, Aretha Franklin passed away. Again, well-off, wealthy, well-known person. I'm not even sure if she had a will. I've looked things up that said she had nothing, and I've looked things up that said she had 4 of them. Well, shoot, who knows? Let's just make sure we're not more stories like this. We think about, oh, it's for somebody else. No, we've got to do it for us. We've got to be doing this for our families to make sure that we're in a good position so that we don't leave our families in that unknown, that unsure. What do we do? Right? We all know the Black Panther, estimated 12 million net worth. Who do you think got all the money? I guarantee you the government had their hand in that. Why? Because they have their hand in everything if we don't have ourselves properly set up. And that's the stuff we can do. And I wanted to open up and talk with y'all about this a little bit, just to kind of get your mind wrapped around when we think of, oh, well, they're good, so I don't even have to worry about it. We have to think about all of these things. It affects all of us. None of us know when we're not going to be here anymore. None of us know what the next day is going to hold. Let's make sure we have those conversations and we're talking out what we need to do and we set ourselves up right. Now, when it comes to wills versus trust, there's a couple of differences. So Michael Jackson had a trust and everything set up. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into wills versus trust because there's certain aspects of that really do require a lawyer, and I'm not a lawyer. So I can connect you with one, but I'm not a lawyer to get down to the nitty gritty there. But in essence, a will is your last will and testament. It's your wishes. And what I usually say is if somebody has less than 6 figures worth of value, or assets, then no problem. A will probably suffice for you. But if you have over 6 figures worth of assets, over 100,000 in assets, over $250,000, or you own property, get a trust. Please look into getting a trust. All right? We can help you out with that. We can direct you on that. We can give you some guidance on that. The trust will hold up in court. It's a legal document. It is a legal document that governs exactly what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, who gets it, when they get it, and everything. And that's something we can do that even sets things up. How many of us have kids? How many of us have kids and want to make sure that, hey, you know what? If something wasn't set up properly, or when we do pass away, if we passed away sooner than we thought, guess what? We can at least go to sleep every night comfortable knowing, hey, look, if life happens to me before I was expecting it, my family's still going to be okay. Let's not have more stories of, well, I was going to do this. I thought about setting this up. All right. So please think about that. Reach out, talk to us, talk to someone. We'd obviously love to help you out, but we just want you to make sure you have these conversations, you have these talks, and get the necessary plans in place. And even if you can't do it right this second for whatever reason, have a conversation about it so that you know what you're working towards down the road. All right. So understanding the difference between having a trust versus stuff going through probate, things that can go through probate like 401ks. So I have one of my business partners, actually before they were in business, that their father passed away and they had several $100,000 in their 401k, but it took so long. It took over 2 years while it went through the whole probate process and everything before her mother got the money. They almost lost the house. There was money there, but because of all the red tape and processes things had to go through, they almost lost their house. And they didn't even get all the money that was in there because taxes had to be paid and lawyers and this, that, and everything else. So let's make sure we have things set up right. So everything we've worked so hard for in our lives, we do pass on to our families. I want my families and loved ones to keep everything. Hey, I'm all for supporting the government for the support that they give us, but I don't need to give them more than I need to. I want to make sure my family keeps what I worked hard for. That's why I worked hard. I'm sure that's why you worked hard, for your family, not for the government, right? Now, think about different ways we can pass on money. We've all probably heard of the Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers. So if we look back at the Vanderbilts, Cornelius was one of the wealthiest men, if not the wealthiest man in America back in the day. And guess what? As of now, just a few generations after he passed, gone. Why? Wasn't planned out properly, wasn't set up properly. And then we've got Rockefeller, America's first billionaire, and 7 generations, 80 years after he passed away. Imagine that. 80 years after he passed, his family still has a fortune that's growing and going and growing and being able to give back, take care of the family, send the kids to whatever schools they want to go to. Why? Because he sat down and talked with someone and had the right conversation, and he's passed that knowledge on to the rest of his family. So they've been able to keep going and maintain that wealth and not just squander it. Believe me, they're still using it and having a great time with it, but it was set up properly. It was set up correctly. And if you want to learn a little bit more about what they did, here's an amazing book. I'm just telling you about this, not because I have anything to do with it, but just because it's great information. And knowledge is not powerful unless it's shared, so let's share that knowledge. There's a ton of secrets in books. Y'all probably heard me say that before, but here's a great one to read about what would the Rockefellers do. So with that, I would like to go ahead and turn it over to Miss Cynthia to share a bit more about her story and some of the other things that we can do.
Well, first of all, thank you, Sean. That was great. And I just wanted to acknowledge today's the 12th, and today is the number of the day when my dad transitioned. And it's, always things come to me. It's not like I planned it or expected it. Believe me, it just came to me, and I'm like, here I am, sharing my story and sharing my experience, because the 12th is also that number is really special, because that's when my first grandbaby was born. And my dad was very, very, very happy to be a great grandfather. He often talked about his parents not making it to be great grandparents. And so, it's so emotional. I'm just going to be real deal about this, because, my dad was the type of person that really wanted information. I think there was nobody talking to him about anything. And like I mentioned, unfortunately, he didn't have the living trust. But like I said, thanks, Mom. My mom is still here with me, and shouts out to my mom for all the things that she's done. And yet, because when her parents passed away, she shared about it took them 18 years, her and her siblings, to kind of settle things out with everything that was in the will or not in the will. And because nothing was talked about, it was just given. And I think part of the legacy planning process is to have that conversation with our kids. And my mom, my mom did the living trust, and it's all in place, and I'm still waiting for that conversation. And it's okay. I've talked to my mom, and I feel like, it's a process, and it's different, traditionally, or generations. Like I said, it's a really touchy subject. None of us are here getting out alive, but at the end of the day, it's time to break that silence. And when I had to do my own living trust, it was a process to go through, and to, have my 3 kids to be present. And I'm going to tell you, it didn't go really perfect at all. The first time we were going to have the meeting, my son was cleaning, my other daughter fell asleep and she was taking a nap, and my other daughter was getting off of work. And this was on a Sunday. And I was just like, what do we do? So, I was kind of like, okay, it is what it is. It's a difficult topic, and maybe unconsciously, this is just the way it needed to happen. So the following weekend, I just had my living trust. I knew my daughter, and I had conversations with my younger kids to say, we got to talk about this. And we did. And then my kids were like, well, why don't you talk to the oldest sibling, which is Stephanie, which actually does what I do too. So I did. I just took it over to my sister's house. I said, this is what my living trust looks like. This is, she had questions, and, I went through it as best as I could to have her understand. And, this is why, it's so important, and I even have my final wishes in there. And I think that's also important to talk about, because when I pass, I do want a celebration. I want mariachis. I want, that's what I want, right? And of course, I want my kids to get, all the things that they deserve to have. But yet, just like Sean was showing that book, What Would the Rockefellers Do? I have my son, or I'm encouraging my son to read it. I really study that book, because it's really important. I don't know everything either. I'm still learning. And that's the beauty of what we do. the financial literacy, financial information is on a continuum, and you learn what you learn. And so, my grandbaby, like I said, my first grandbaby, and then my second grandbaby is the COVID, was born in March of last year, and didn't get to meet him till months later. But I just think all this information. And so with that said, like, I planted the seeds for my daughter, and then for my grandbabies, but also for my children. And that's why, through doing what I've done, like what said there, is my vision is to break this the cycle of poverty and create generational wealth for the Black and Brown communities. And that's what I'm doing also, right? I can do it for my family and then do it for others, because when you help yourself, then you help others. And that's kind of where I'm at. And my son also, I'm really excited because he's going to go to San Francisco State. I was there today. And it's interesting, like, just connections and relationships, like we were talking, are so important. And I was able to kind of share with my son all the people I know in San Francisco State that are still there, that are working there. And he was like, wow, Mom, you know a lot of people. And I'm like, yeah, this is like you're a good, Gator family. And so, it was really nice to kind of like pass that on as well, right? But, going back to the legacy planning and just talking about, I think it's really important to start talking about it. I mean, it's not easy, but it's doable. And, along the way, if you need support, like Sean said, we're here to help you, get what you may need. And there are, there is ways to do with the living trust that is affordable. Let's just say affordable, and that's what we're here to do, to help. And so, and again, too, I want to share with my son just graduating from high school, and Sean actually helped me help him with creating his retirement now at this age. So I'm really proud of all the things that my family are doing, and I want to continue to do, so that my grandbabies and great grandbabies all, will be able to see the benefits of why it's important. So, and with that said, that's why it's important to, water this family tree, and to get everyone to understand it. I mean, sometimes there's a lot of, from different experiences, like, the openness, but what's really important is breaking the beliefs and knowing that things are possible to, change the different future generations. So, I'm really excited. And then comparing, the 3 different ways to save for our children. I know we talked about it not too long ago, but I think it's really important to reflect on, where, if you put your money in the bank, if you do the college 529, the child's life plan, there's a lot of benefits into that strategy, and definitely, especially with legacy. So I think that that's really important, to have the right plan in place. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at with that. And then, like, if you are like, Sean was just talking, it's important to have stuff in things that your money and your one of your eggs in the basket, and things that are protected, right? And that you have to understand, the stock market. And here's the example, right? And what we share families, and for them to have this type of strategy, is where their money is protected. And so it's guaranteed rate of returns. It's an index strategy, which is really important. I can't go into so much of these things, but, and it's a payment for life. And as you see, it will, it goes up when it goes up, and then it locks in. So when the market goes down, you stay level. And, just along the way, all those kind of things, you want to have a strategy this way to protect for your legacy. So I think that it's really important to learn more about it, so that you understand why we do what we do, and we're really, passionate to help families understand this.
And real quick, just to add a little bit there, well, one of the things we look at is getting things that are set up for people for their future, for structuring their future, their legacy, outside of just what they have through their job. Because so many people think that their savings plan they have through their job is going to be their retirement and their one they leave as a legacy. And we've learned from experience, sometimes harsh ones, that that's not always the case. But just understanding the type of plans that you have in place to allow you to plan for your future properly and know that you're actually going to have something, to know that you don't have to have all that risk involved in your savings and ideally supposed growth plans.
Yeah, thank you. So right now he will show right now the why leave your family money with X companies. And so that's what happens sometimes, like when you don't know where your money is at. And it kind of actually happened with my in my situation with my father and my mom, but I'm helping her right now get that. And but it's because when people don't know where their money is, it's important to put it in a strategy that and then it's also important to share that with your family, and obviously have everything in one, in a place where it's accessible. But the default plan, like usually with the companies, it's company owned, it's offered through your job. There's no guarantees, and the company may match, but these kind of types of accounts go directly through probate as well if nothing is in place. And so when you do an indexed annuity, it's personal, it's client owned, there's guarantees. Again, the index strategy, and it's lifetime income, and it avoids probate. And you live your life by default. Do you live your life by default or design? I think most people want to live by design. And we'll go into types of insurance and why it's so important to have that as part of your legacy planning.
Cool. So what we're looking at here is just understanding that there's steps and progressions that we can take as we're setting up that family legacy. Like Cynthia said, we just sat down, and hey, her son just turned 18. So that's why we just sat down with him, because hey, he's 18. He's now a legal adult. I say legal because if we think, a lot of us think back to when we were 18, we may have been viewed as an adult, but our mindset and what we were doing may not have been fully adultish at that point. But he's viewed as an adult, so now it's time to talk with him. Now it's time to talk with him about saving and planning for his future, because that legacy we can even start that when our children are babies. We can start the plans for them that allow money to grow. And look, when you start saving when a child is 2 weeks old, guess what? By the time they're 18 and an adult, guess what? They've got a good chunk of money there. And you didn't have to save a whole bunch of money because you had 18 years just before they're an adult for that money to grow and compound and be accessible for whatever you want. So the sooner we can start that legacy planning, the sooner we start the proper savings with the proper accounts that we've been able to educate ourselves on, the less we have to save and the more it can turn into. So we start off with the children's plans. We start off with getting the legacy set up when the kids are young, and then that can progress and it can grow. Then as we go through and we get a job and we start saving money elsewhere, well, what are we doing to save and what type of protection do we have in place? Because one of the biggest detriments to people's legacy as they thought they have would be, life happening. 3 things are going to happen. 1 of 3 things are going to happen. We're going to live too long, we're going to die too soon, or we're going to get sick along the way. And we need to have something in place for all 3 of those. And there's different types of insurance that we talked about this before as well. But your term insurance, that's your temporary, going to cover the immediate need. And by immediate, I mean probably in the next 30 years while you're still working, right? If you're unable to go to work to earn your income, you'll actually have some living benefits and access to money while you're alive. Because if you don't have something like that in place, what's going to happen? Think about the largest amount of money that most people, and ask yourself, where's the largest amount of money that you have saved, that you believe you have access to? And 8 to 9 times out of 10, it's in our retirement plans. But if you think about it, realize if we get too sick to go to work to earn our income, to keep the job, to pay into the retirement plan, how we still have money to live with. And then do we want to pull from our long-term permanent plan for a temporary issue? That's going to throw us off our game. That's going to throw us off what we had been planning on and working towards. So it's essential to have the proper plans in place as we're going along, because we have the living benefit. So if we get sick or injured, but then also think about this. What happens if we pass away too soon? If we pass away too soon, is our family prepared for it? Is our significant other ready to take on the bulk of the burden of the household? Are our kids going to be okay? Can they still go to college? Are they going to be able to keep the house? What's going to happen? And one thing I like to say when it comes to planning is I don't wish to make other people responsible for my irresponsibilities. We're out here. There's so many other people that are out here sharing information like this that allow us to set things up. And your proper life insurance and proper income protection, that's your foundation for your solid financial plan. Because if anything goes askew, guess what? You're still okay. You have different levels, different areas of protection that allow you to pass something on to your family. Because if we were to pass away too soon, guess what? I'm going to leave a really big chunk to my family. All right. If I pass away too soon, they're going to miss me, but they're going to be okay. They are definitely going to be okay. I know I'm passing on a legacy. And as I live longer, I also know that I have my permanent plans in place that are going to give me access to money. I'm going to have access to money without concerns about, well, how old am I? Am I allowed to access it yet? Do I have to access it yet? Am I being forced to? And will I have to worry about taxes? No, thank God somebody's educated me, so I don't have to worry about that. That's what we're here for. We want to go out there and educate you as well. But another thing that people talk about is they say, well, buy term and invest the difference. Cool. Great plan for some people. But we also know that Warren Buffett is the exception to the rule that proves the rule, that most people that have been playing in the stock market and had money there, they didn't make their money in the stock market. They made their money because they either inherited money or they started a business that made them independently wealthy. Therefore, they were able to play in the stock market. So if Warren Buffett is the exception to the rule, which means that most of us will not become wealthy by investing in the stock market. My concern with it, if I buy term because it's less expensive and I invest the difference and I don't buy a permanent life insurance plan, I don't have a permanent long-term just savings plan that's going to give me tax advantages and access to money whenever I need it. I've bought my term. Once that's gone, it's gone. I no longer have a big chunk that I'm going to pass, that I know for sure that I'm guaranteed to pass on to my family when I pass. And my investments of the difference have to 100% have to have done well. Otherwise, A, I don't have anything to live off of. And B, if I do have something to live off of, I've got to have enough. If I don't have enough, then guess what? I've got to ration my retirement. I don't really want to ration my retirement. So I want to make sure that I get to enjoy what I've worked so hard for and that I'm able to bless my family because I love my family. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure that they're in a good position and that they can have one heck of a party and celebration and not have to worry about it. Because what happens when we go? All right, people do GoFundMes. People go through and they go to their church. They do car washes and all this stuff. And I just want to say, hey, look, let's be a blessing to people. Let's make sure we've set our families up right. Let's make sure we've gone through and set up the proper plan so our accounts don't have to go through probate, so that the government doesn't take a bunch of taxes. Make sure we have the proper estate plans in place. And I apologize, we didn't talk a little bit more about estate plans, but plans when you have joint property, when the things that are owned by either a couple or business partners, it's really important to have plans in place for those because, hey, when we pass away, there are all the time, there's a lot of stuff changing right now too, where there are rules and tax regulations that change for how taxes are handled, not just upon inheriting property, but property tax and everything, and when it was purchased and all of that. If we don't have the proper plans in place, then guess what? You see all these estate sales that people are doing? They're not doing estate sales because they want to sell all their loved ones' stuff. They're doing estate sales because they got hit with a bunch of taxes and they weren't prepared for it. So they're doing whatever they can to generate money so that they can keep the property. So they can keep that property that their grandfather built with their bare hands. and the government's trying to take it from them because they're charging some exorbitant amount of taxes on it. We've got to sit down and put these plans in place, everybody. Please, please. And we're here. And I don't know if we mentioned it before, but we don't charge our clients, right? Any company that we're able to connect our clients with and get them set up with, they're going to compensate us. So when I go back and say, hey, this is for you, you do deserve this, you can afford this. Yes, it's free. It's 100% free. There's not going to be any type of back end. Oh, by the way, you owe me this. No, the traditional industry likes to charge people. Our business model is set up so we don't have to do that, which truly allows us to go back into our communities and share this information with everybody and anybody that's willing to listen. We've gone out there and we've talked with schools, we've talked with high schools, and high schools can't go through and do anything, right? High school students, most of them are not 18 yet. So this isn't about us going out there and making money. I'd do this for free if I absolutely could, because it's not about us making money. It's about us going out there and getting this information in the hands of our youth, in the hands of our communities, so that they can go out and not have to make the same mistakes, hit the same pitfalls that we did as we were growing up. The sooner we have these conversations, that's why I love this platform. The sooner we have these conversations, the more powerful it is, the more impactful it can be, because not only are we starting younger so we have more time, but we don't have to play catch up because we haven't made mistakes and we haven't lost time. So hey, with that, thank you everybody again. Cynthia, always a pleasure to have you by my side.
Thank you, John.
John Henry, hey, you're awesome, brother. I always love having conversations with you.
Oh man, phenomenal stuff. I mean, this is why we brought you all back again, to continue to bless the community. That's what we're trying to do here, both sides of the conversation. We're just trying to play our part. We just want to make sure that our people get the information, because we all know sometimes in our community, this information is not available. We know also in our community, when you start talking about financial literacy and financial wealth and things of that nature, it's like talking about mental health and some of the other topics in our community that we just don't have. So it's very, very important. And, people are busy during the day, so it's definitely always nice to have you all come on, give this information to the community. And we are so thankful for you all always showing up on time, giving us the gems, willing to connect with the community, because sometimes our community don't get it and they just don't know. Right. And everybody learns different, and we're just one of the hubs of information for the community. There are many other platforms. There are many other resources out there. We're not trying to say we're the only one doing this type of work. We're just one of the hubs. We have a connection of a certain amount of people. We have other people who follow us and support us and share this information. And we just want to make sure that the community gets the information. That's my biggest push here. As executive director, is like, I don't want to compete with people. I just want to collaborate. I don't care about the information and who gets the clout and who gets the recognition. I just want to make sure that the people in our community get the right information. They're connected with the right people so that they could go ahead and make this paradigm shift. Shifting the narrative also is about financial, right? We know in the Black and brown community for years, our biggest pitfall have been when it comes to the conversation of financial literacy and how do we impact our community moving forward. And we know, and you all know, the only way that we're going to really have the impact across this country is through building that financial wealth, through financial planning, getting out of debt and being able to invest in things of that nature to get that real prosperity that we see so much on TV. Sometimes in our community, we don't reach it because we don't get that financial information. So it's definitely great to have you all back on here. I know the community appreciates it. And one of the things about doing this here is, people get a chance to go back and watch it at different times. And, it gives them that safe space, because sometimes, like you said, Sean, when we talk about finances, we just don't want to have that conversation. So maybe, having this on this platform, somebody could go back later when they by themselves in the room and listen, and they'll reach out to you or Cynthia and try to set up a free meeting to go over the finances and talk about some of this stuff. And we just trying to encourage it with our community. I think once people kind of understand it, the confidence builds up, the level of consciousness and awareness of finances and how important it is really starts to impact the community. We start seeing those change. I'm a big advocate and pusher on ownership, and to get to that ownership, it starts with things like this, making sure you have the right protections and the right policies and things in place so that you can leave that generational wealth to our young people. I say it all the time. My dad died. He left me with a bill. He didn't leave me with the wealth. So I had to work hard and get it. And these conversations are always so touching to me because I wish, before he passed away, there were certain things that he put into place for me so that I could have it easier, right? And that's just the way it is. We want to make sure that our younger generation, as technology and things change, our young people in the community gets an opportunity to actually get that head start with wealth. So many times in our other ethnic groups and our other communities, they get that head start. They go to college, they don't have the debt. So they could go start and make $150,000, $200,000 a year, and they can buy that house because they don't have to pay back student loans. Mm-hmm. So the more intentional community we are about our finances, having these difficult conversations, getting the right people in our corner to help us get through that financial journey is very, very important. But one thing, Sean, before I let you guys go, I got to push back a little bit respectfully. You made a comment about this is both sides of the conversation. Exactly. I have to push back a little bit because you made the statement of when you're talking about the wills and the trust, if you don't have $100,000 or more, you just have to worry about a will. Now, the reason why I'm pushing back is because I think in the Black and brown community, it is very important for us to have estate planning. And I think we need to really educate the community. I know you're not a lawyer, but we really need to encourage our community to really look into estate planning because it is more than money. You're talking about, if someone's in an accident, that estate planning is who has the right to tell you if they pull a plug or not, different medical things, as well as you never know what happens, right? I just read an article the other day where a guy didn't have estate planning, just living his life, had this wealth, building things, but he came into some kind of inheritance, but he didn't have a will of trust. And then his kids tried to go, and all of these people was coming at because he didn't have a will and trust in place, and he died before all that could be extended. The courts and the lawyers took up all of the money and left the kids without nothing. And too many times in our community that happens, especially with our grandmothers. Some of our elders and seniors of the community, like you said, have worked their tails off over the last 30, 40 years, buying property, and then they pass away. And then, family disputes happen. Sometimes it's, family members who own drugs, different things. But because we didn't have the proper paperwork in place, that family ends up losing that generational wealth. I've watched it happen so many times, and I think it's very important that we also just tell community we have to go ahead and get the estate planning put together, like you said, regardless of what it is, because sometimes our elders in the community, they didn't do it. So tonight I'm hoping that if somebody is a caretaker for one of the elders in our community or a family member, that they go and look into estate planning and let that person say who's going to get what. So it's, it's less fighting. And the reason why you got to have both the will and the trust, because without the will, without the trust, probate court still could get involved. And a lot of times community don't understand that if you have a will in the trust, you could bypass probate court because it's the will in the trust back in the power of those decisions. And it saves the family money, and it saves a lot of the fighting, because when you don't have the will and trust, you go to probate court. Next thing you know, the lawyers are in there taking all of the finances, the judge, the city, you know what I mean? So, it's very important. So I would say no matter if you have 100,000 or not, if you're a homeowner in the process of paying off your home, you have some assets or different things that you would like to leave to your family, definitely go and look into estate planning because it's very important. And I think this conversation we need to push more in our community. Too many times our wealth in the Black and brown community from our grandparents and some of our parents are lost because we don't have the proper paperwork in place. And then sometimes siblings, when we lose somebody, they fight and everybody's fighting. And next thing you know, we're going to court, probate. And now we're tied up in probate court. And most times we can't even afford it. And we end up losing all of our generational wealth through fighting in court and not having things properly put in place. So that's the only pushback I have. Everything else, I agree with.
Well, I wanted to just share real quick. That's a really important point, John. I think that you're saying that is the right. Really important is to have those tough conversations, because that's where I'm telling you, my mom, I appreciate her, I love her, and she has a living trust in place. but it's having that difficult conversation. And I have had that difficult conversation with her, and she's still not ready to meet with all the siblings. And that's the thing that would, I trust that it will happen. And but it's difficult, and I feel like, it's because there's this old school mentality and stuff, in a sense too, that you're not taking anything when you leave. Okay, we understand that, but it's best for you to say, we don't have to agree about what you want, but at least we know. And that's the thing that I feel like I didn't have that experience, but I was able to do that with my kids, because I have my oldest daughter, like I said, Stephanie, and I have Sara and I have Julian. And my oldest daughter, I said, gets a little bit more than you two. And, we got to talk it out. And they're like, okay, they understand. I had my reasons, and, it is what it is. And they understood, because we talked about it. And, it makes it neither good nor bad. It's just, this is what I want, and I think that's the real difficulty in most of our, I think, families, is, knowing that we need to decide what we want to do, whether they like it or not, in a sense, right? But have that conversation, because feelings are feelings, and people are going to feel some kind of way. That's just part of the process, I think.
Yeah, I always say the responsible person in the family, but sometimes the responsible person could be the difficult person. I'm so happy I don't have to do all that fighting. I only have one child. My daughter, my granddaughter, they can fight over it, but it's But no, definitely we need to have those conversations with community. And I always tell people, even as an elder, and I know sometimes the elders stuck in their ways. It's their choice, right? And if they choose to leave us something, they choose to leave us something. If they don't, we have to respect it. But it's still nice to have it in place, so that even if it is, something that goes on later, we just don't lose all of it to the court system. Too many times I watch these houses get sold, millions of dollars in property get sold, and the courts eat up all the money in taxes, probate court, and things of that nature. So community, if you have an elder or a senior you're watching over, your mom or dad, have the difficult conversation, or bring them on both sides of the conversation, and we'll have the difficult conversation.
Right.
But we want to start getting our elders supported in the community, and just families in the community to really start thinking about changing that mindset, because I've been through that, and I understand some of that in our community. It's like, I ain't leaving y'all nothing. They get mad at the kids and all of that. So it's real, but we have to make sure that we also, think past that and try to make it easier. And sometimes I don't always agree, because as parents, we want to make our kids work for it. They need to go through it. But it's a struggle in life. It's already a challenge. The level of opportunities are getting slimmer and slimmer, especially in the Black and brown community, with automation, computer and technology taking on a lot of jobs. So as adults and families, let's do our part. This information is here now. You can't have an excuse if you watch this tonight and say that you don't know about it. You have to apply it. You got Sean and Cynthia here. Their phone numbers is up on the screen. Reach out to them. They come from that background. They understand. You hear Cynthia. She's talking about her family. She's talking about her mom. Talking about Sean. Talking about his family. These are real people. That's why we bring them on here. You don't have to feel judged. In our community, we have way too much pride. When things aren't right, but it's okay. Reach out to Sean, reach out to Cynthia, talk to them about the finances. They definitely guide you in the right direction. Make sure you're investing right, making sure that you're doing the right things for your future. So many times, and I'm glad you touched on that, Sean, so many times we go to work, and a lot of times I talk to people about this as well. When it comes to our retirement, they have a 401k, and they're like, oh, well, my employer's putting 8%, 10% in there, and they think that's it. And they don't know that they need to also add to it and things of that nature. And I think that's why it's very important that they reach out to you and have those conversations, because too many times our elders in the community, when they don't get this type of information, they work all of those years and they go to retire and they don't understand why they don't have enough money. They go, my job's been putting all of this money in, they count, and they think they have more than what's there, or they really don't understand. And I just really want community to really reach out, talk to the professionals, get the help, do the things that you need to do, to better prepare yourself for this financial beings that we need here as we start moving into, the baby boomers are retiring right now, and a lot of them are being impacted, right? So we just trying to make the change now. We're being intentional now. We're getting this information out to community now so that we could definitely make sure that we have something in place, not only for our future kids, but just for ourselves as we get into retire. I am tired of seeing my elders who work 30, 40 years working at Walmart, working these little security jobs, all because they didn't properly prepare. And, sad to say, most corporations, most companies, their HR department is not going to educate you on this level that Sean and Cynthia is going to bring it to you. I'm sorry, but it's just real. A lot of times people work for these companies and they think that HR is going to give them this information. They're not going to give it to you. Remember, they are working for an employer. Their job is to protect and make sure that the best thing for the organization is in place, not for your personal pockets. So I definitely encourage everyone in the community, take the time, take down their phone numbers, reach out to them. You can have a phone conversation. I know Sean and them is so cool. They'll set up a Zoom with you. They'll do anything because they believe in intentionally impacting the community, and that's why we love them. And they always come back to make sure anytime there's something new or something that they feel our community needs to know, that they want to make sure that we get that information, because a lot of times we don't get it. And there are a lot of changes that are happening and upcoming here. The market is fluctuation. Things is happening. And over the next 6 months, it's going to be a challenge for a lot of people as we get into this second part of this COVID. If we shut down again, it's going to be definitely disastrous for a lot of people in our community. We already see these eviction moratoriums, impacting our community. So we need to prepare, we need to plan, and make sure that our young people moving forward get those opportunities that we didn't get. So I'm just happy to have you all here again, giving this information up to community. Very important stuff. If you have anything else you all want to say, please go ahead and give it to the people now.
Well, again, I just feel so blessed, and I thank you and for being able to be here. And I'm telling you, it's so crazy. I'm telling you, my dad used to say this. I'm telling you, but it's so crazy that today is the 12th. Like, it's just, he just surprises me all the time in numbers. And again, just to be with you, John and Sean, and be able to give this and share this message. And yeah, this is real deal stuff. It's real life. And I know that everyone who's watching that has your family, you love your family as much as I do. I know. And I know that you want them to be protected and taken care of, especially if you've done everything that you felt you needed to do to take care of them while you're here and stuff. So thanks again. Love to the community, and shouts out. I know Sandy's there watching too. Thank you. So go ahead.
Nice. Thank you. And John, you always bring up like phenomenal points. Well, what I'd love to do with you sometime is just set up a time we just sit here and talk, right? And we literally just have a unscripted, unplanned conversation and just see where it goes. I think it'd be fun. Right? Now, you brought up a couple things that I think are absolutely key. Like you mentioned your HR department, and I'm not talking bad about it. Right? My dad's a retired HR manager. And he did some amazing things, got a bunch of grief because he put people of minority in positions of leadership. Now everybody is mad at him, but then when his teams killed it and did extremely well, they're like, oh, well, right? So I'm not bashing HR by any means. That's how I lived growing up. But they're not licensed. They don't have that education. Like I said, that's one of the aspects to that HR role. So it's not a bad thing, but they're not given the proper knowledge and information, right? So not a shot to them, but just understanding, hey, look, it is important that we do our due diligence to educate ourselves as well. We can't just depend on somebody else to do it all the time. And the other part, I'm really glad you brought up the thing with the will and the trust, because yes, I agree with you in that, hey, everybody should have something in place. And the legacy plan, a proper trust will include a will within it, along with some other documents. Now, everybody should at least start off with a will, period, because you need to have something in place. If you have less than 100, personal opinion, if you have less than 100,000 in assets, you might be able to get away with the will because there's not enough to fight over. But if you have over 100,000 in assets or you own any type of property, you need a trust, period, because the trust is, like you said, that legal document that will hold up in court, and it does help you to avoid all that probate mess. Now, another thing you mentioned with the estate, the estate planning and the documents, there are some critical documents that people need to have. And I'm so glad, John, thank you so much for bringing this up, because I neglected to mention it earlier. But there's documents, there's power of attorney documents for medical, for finances, right? Who can access our finances if we're laid up in the hospital and can't speak for ourselves? Who can make medical decisions for us if we're laid up in the hospital and can't speak for ourselves? Let's talk about a real difficult thing. Maybe my spouse is not the one I want making those decisions. You've got to make that decision before you're laid up in the hospital on a ventilator. Okay, you've got to have that done ahead of time. Yeah. And a blessing for me, because of this business, I was able to have that freedom of time. So when I took care of my uncle for the last couple of years of his life, and I'm going to all his doctor's appointments and everything with his severe COPD, end stage lung disease and all that. And they gave me, which it used to be a bright pink sheet of paper in California anyway. It's called an advance directive. And I don't know if everybody knows what that is, but the advance directive dictates, how do I want to be treated? Do I want, give me a Tylenol and some water and hope for the best? Do I want intermediate care, or do I want full intubation, tubes coming in and going out of me? What type of care do you want? My uncle was on a BiPAP machine, which is just shy of full intubation. They said the scenario is you're driving down the freeway at 60 miles an hour and stick your head out, open your mouth. It's just forcing air down your lungs. They say, hey, Mr. Johnson, go ahead, take this and fill this out with your uncle. Like, what the heck is this? It's bad enough I'm there. He's already not in good shape. And now you're going to ask me, hey, Unc, what type of care do you want to receive? That's not the time to have to fill that paper out. That's not okay. We need to have that stuff done ahead of time. And then we need to also have that other conversation of, what do we want done when we do pass? Do we want to be cremated? Do we want to be buried? Do we want to have our organs donated? I can't tell you how many times you run into this stuff with people where, oh, I love them, I don't want to cremate them, I can't do that. And the other people go like, we're going to spend all this money on that. I don't want to do that. You have no idea what someone wants. So we need to tell our family what they want, so we avoid that strife and those fights between the family. Me personally, my stuff and my mom's stuff, it's already paid for. We're both going to be cremated. Y'all can have whatever left of my organs if there's anything left, right? We already know that. So it's not going to be let's say, God forbid, but let's say I pass tomorrow. My mom and my fiance aren't going to be arguing over, well, what do we do with him? We want to get him this $30,000 casket because we love him. He deserves it. And the other one's saying, nah, let's just burn him up. Right. That's making light of it a little bit. Right. But that's the reality. Those awkward arguments happen between families because we haven't put things in place. And I'm seeing the question there. If someone passed away and left an executor in place, what happens if that executor doesn't give what the deceased told them to give you? With the proper documents, absolutely. But if we don't have the proper documentation, and some things do need to be notarized, so always look into that. Without proper documentation, anything can be fought. I mean, shoot, people fight stuff even with proper documentation in California, but that's a whole nother conversation. but no, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of important stuff to have filled out, and the time to do it is now, right now, not later, because tomorrow's not promised. The time to do it is now. Don't make other people be responsible for your irresponsibilities. Mm-hmm. It's only fair that we take care of ourselves as best we can, so that when whatever time comes, we're not a burden to our family. So, hey, with that, John, thank you again so much. Appreciate you. Always fun being here.
Man, Sean, you let me out the box. I've been trying to hide. I don't want people to think I know anything. I want them to think because I got my hat on and I talk a little radical that I don't know what the heck's going on. You can't be letting them know that I know some things now. I'm trying to do my reading and my education too now. You know, it's a daily education model for me, right?
Well, you reading. What do you mean reading? People don't read these days, do they? What?
Man, I be in them books, man. I don't tell people, but I be in those books. They be looking at me. They be thinking, he don't know what he talking about. That I step into the building, I just let him know, like, I know a few things now. Don't get it twisted. But I'm all about my people. I don't like people playing with my people, so I have to go do the research so that I can advocate for them. But sometimes you have to learn to just maneuver in the room of vultures, as they say. and just smile and just let them think they're getting over on you. But I always tell them, and that's why I appreciate you and Cynthia for coming on. You always be real, you be authentic. And again, it's not a shot at HR. Here both sides of the conversation. We don't shoot anything down, but we do keep it real. We don't BS and mess around. So it's just true. There's a phenomenal HR people that do amazing work. But we also have to keep it real. Sometimes they're not so great, and sometimes they're not always in the favor of the people that we represent. So we just always have to acknowledge that as well. But we're not here to take shots and shoot people down. We always trying to uplift and support and hopefully encourage even the ones that the HRs that's not doing so well. Hopefully if they're watching our videos or they watching our YouTube, they'll go back and do a better job of educating the community and their workers and things of that nature. So it's really an empowerment type of deal. But we do have to call that stuff out. That's one thing here at both sides of the conversation I'm always committed to. I don't care about funding. I don't care about resources. I don't care who's partnering with us. We're going to always keep it real and represent the people that's underserved or sometimes don't get the support that others get. We will always stand for them, and we always will meet people where they at. We're not going to judge anybody. We're just going to meet them where we're at, and we're going to support them and do our job to hold ourselves accountable as well as those that's in our community to help lead our community, especially when it comes to information. And that's why I'm so very, very, very hard on guests when they come on our Educational Thursday, especially in finances, with you all. I've had those conversations. I know where you all stand on things. So it's a little bit, with you all, it's a little bit more of a easy conversation. But a lot of times when we get new people who come on our thing trying to sell BS to the community, I have to grind them a little bit. I get a little passionate and I get heated if they misleading our community with information. And that's just what we have to do. It's always nice to have people bring new ideas and new perspectives, but I'm always going to represent the people that I know that we really need it, and just making sure that they get the right information, because again, in our community, the Black and brown community, trust is so big, right? And when you finally get somebody from our community to open up and trust somebody with information, I want to make sure that those people are given the right message, the right information, because if they open up and then you distrust them, now it's just, they're like, this is why I don't trust nobody, right? And that's why I'm always, I always respect what you all do, because there's no sales pitch. You're not trying to sell community thing. You're actually trying to leverage, community and get them connected. And again, when you do that type of stuff, the blessings always come to you anyway. You always get paid for the good work. But I just always have to be that pit bull or that advocate that's always yelling and screaming for my people, because I know sometimes when people don't know, a lot of times they can be put in the wrong policies or the wrong plans and taken advantage of. And, I just don't want that to happen on my watch. The last thing I need is 1,000 people calling me talking about, John Henry, I listened to that financial coach and he told me the wrong thing. And why did you bring him up? You know what I mean? So that's just what it is. But it's all love. I always love, you all coming on and y'all team. Phenomenal people that's doing work. I'm looking forward as we start, this Dreamkeeper push is happening, as they are going around different community organizations doing things to help bring resources to the community. I'm going to keep pushing you guys information out to them, because we want to make sure that we get this information in our hubs, our different community. I know Lynn out there has been asking me for a long time about getting life insurance and stuff for a group they have. Unfortunately, this COVID has been keeping us out from being back around, and every time we think we're getting out of it, it gets worse again. But we definitely want to do some of this, life insurance talks and things of that nature in our community, because way too many times, we lose loved ones in our community and we just not financially prepared, and we don't have the right coverages. And like you said, Sean, there's GoFundMe's up every way, and there's nothing against GoFundMe. Somebody got mad. What's wrong with a GoFundMe? But when it comes to life, tragic loss and things of that nature, we want to make sure that our community is very, very prepared and ready for that. And it just starts with a little bit of education and information. And I'm just glad you said that, because I don't want people out there can't bury their loved ones, can't get these opportunities because they didn't properly prepare, just as well as college. I'm the same way on college, trying to educate our community, get the 529s, go and get some of these college funded accounts so that we can prepare. We have to be intentional in the Black and brown community. We can't just have babies and say, oh, they'll be an athlete or they'll get a scholarship. As parents of the community, as leaders of the community, it's our job to make sure that we are educating our families to make sure that they put the proper investments in our young people at a young age, and anticipate that they're going to go to college, or they're going to go to vocational school, or they're going to do something phenomenal that's going to need some financial backing. And let's do the right job when they're young to make sure that we're investing in their futures. And that's part of investing in our young people in future. I see so many of these birthday parties, Sean. I was invited to a birthday party. I mean, these people are spending $5,000-$6,000 for, mass people to come in, Pokemon and all of this stuff, cake, music, jumpers, $2,000 on the video 360. Just crazy amounts of money. Instead of that young person getting all of those resources put into their educational account, all of these gifts, people buying hundreds of dollars of tennis shoes and different things. And I'm like, hey, put that money into this kid, that show them the best, and that's what I do with my granddaughter. I'm not buying all these toys and all this stuff. I go, hey, I'm going to give you CDs. I'm going to give you some money that you can put up for your future. I want to make sure that you're going to college and you got all your finances in order, so you're not out here asking and begging and wondering how you're going to do it. I want it to be there. So I just want to continue to keep pushing that information to our community. That's what we're going to do here at Both Sides of the Conversation. I know that's what you all going to do. Continue to beat the streets, make sure our community gets the information that's needed. And that's just what it takes, a collaborative effort from all of us to do the intentional thing, make sure that we are getting the resources. The same thing with mental health. We have to provide our community with the right education, the right information, and connecting them with the right people so that we can better our communities. It takes one, it takes us all. We can do it, be the change, continue to be a blessing to the community. Thank you, Cynthia and Sean, for coming on, blessing our great people here at Both Sides of the Conversation. We always honored and love having you all come on. This is phenomenal, great information. Community, you were blessed again with some great information tonight. Please make sure you reach out to Sean and Cynthia. If you have any further questions, go back and listen. They might have answered one of your questions earlier in the YouTube if you joined us late. But definitely they are pillars in the community. They are all about making sure that our community has the freedom of finances and making sure that they get the proper information moving forward. I think that was great for you all coming tonight. So thank you very much. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to close out tonight's show. Great presentation tonight from two phenomenal people here that's been coming on our show for a while, Sean and Cynthia. If you would like to do one of these presentations, maybe you say, hey, John, I got something that the community don't know about and I want to share. Please go to our website. It's up there on the screen. Look under our Educational Thursday counter. Book as a panelist. Let's see what you got. Let's see what kind of information you could bring to the community. I know there's some phenomenal people that are doing amazing things across this country. It doesn't matter where you at. Yeah, we here in California. I don't care if you're in Atlanta, if you're in Texas, if you're in Florida. If you have an amazing PowerPoint presentation that you think our Black and brown community needs to learn about, they need to hear about, they need to be educated about it, please come on, sign up, do a presentation for our community. The only way we increase our community is through information and education. So we really would love to have you come on, book for one of our Educational Thursday presentations. I think it is amazing. Every week I'm learning new things from this segment, and I hope community is getting something from it as well. As we represent the Dream Keeper Initiative, this is what this is about, bringing resources, information, and bringing those intersections together. We'll continue to do our part here at Both Sides of the Conversation. We love it. For all the community out there this weekend, if you're going to get out there, go get a backpack. The Be Magic backpack giveaway will be happening. We'll be out there if you want to see me. I know a lot of people like, John, you never tell me where I'm at. Where you going to be? I want to meet you in person. I'll be out there 155 Jenny Street from 10 to 2 o'clock, and then we'll move down to Gilman Park. I want to go support Miss Brenda and the African Drummers. We'll go down to Gilman Park, and we'll be around the city at a couple of those events. Sometimes we're popping in for a minute or two, but for the Be Magic backpack, we're going to support our Be Magic team. We'll be out there supporting them, helping community. We'll be navigating, walking around. You might see me, my videographer. We'll be taking pictures and videos, but we'll be out there blessing the community, supporting the community. So we'll be looking for that. And then this Sunday, we'll have our community conversation. Please, community, if you have time this Sunday, please listen in. I know there's a number of people in our community that hasn't been vaccinated yet, still has questions. I know there's a lot of things going across the news and the articles. This will be a great way. We'll have a brother, John from UCSF. He'll be coming on. Somebody that look like us. Sometimes people don't want to talk to nobody unless they look like us. So we got a doctor who look like us, plus some other health officials that's going to come on to talk about the vaccination, talk about why or why not people are getting the shots, some of the myths, some of the things that's been going out there. I've been seeing some of the crazy stuff, but I know community still has questions. I know some people are animated about they're not going to do it, but hopefully they'll be able to answer some of those questions. I'm not advocating for either way. People have their choice. I'm always saying I got the vaccination. I'm still here. I didn't pass away. I don't have 10 fingers. You know, I'm still here. I don't have a chip in me, I don't think, but I'm still here. So we would
they had the chip in you, okay?
Right. So, we'll have another Sunday conversation. We are still looking for a few more panelists. Maybe you're a doctor, maybe you're a nurse practitioner, maybe you somebody out there that are injecting the vaccination. If you would like to be a part of this conversation, please go to our website, sign up for the Sunday conversation. We still have room. We would love to have another perspective, different ideas, different thought process as we continue to try to educate our community about the vaccination, about this COVID, how it's spreading. There's new virus moving around. There's a lot of things, but we want to have this community conversation. So hopefully you all will be able to join us this Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It should be a great conversation, and I'll ask the tough conversations for community that don't want to ask it, but I think it'll be great. I know John's pretty good at answering those questions, so hopefully everything goes well, and we'll see everybody this Sunday. And then next Tuesday, we'll have another Hidden Gem segment where we will continue to highlight our Black and brown businesses as well as highlight community leaders, phenomenal people like Sean and Cynthia. We'll bring them on and highlight them and let the community know who they are, what they at, what they're doing, and give them their roses while they're here. That's what it's all about. So if you know a Black and brown business out there, or if you know a phenomenal community leader that you would like us to highlight or bring them on our show, please go to our website and book them. You can nominate people right on our website at bothsidesoftheconversation.org or www.botc.org. I'm getting tongue twisted. I'm talking too much. It's time to stop. But please nominate. You know, the purpose of that segment is to make sure that our community know where our Black and brown businesses are and the phenomenal community leaders, where they at, how to connect them with our families, and make sure that those resources get to our community. And I know people have been watching. I've been getting a lot of emails saying, man, thank you for this. I didn't know where I was going to get my kid in, but having those guests on tonight, now I can go reach out to them. So I know it works. We just got to continue to keep circulating the information out there. Again, if you know a business, if you know a community leader that's doing positive things to impact our community, please reach out. You can nominate the business or you can nominate that community leader so that we can get on the community know exactly who they are. With that being said, I'm going to zip it up, land my plane. Love everybody. Be safe out there. We hope to see everybody this Sunday for our next live webinar. I'll see you out at the Be Magic Backpack giveaway. Peace and love. Financial literacy. Go ask somebody, pick up the phone, call my brother Sean, call Cynthia, and make sure that you get the proper financial information you need for your financial future. Thank you all for joining us. We'll sign out tonight for our Educational Thursday, and we will see you all soon. Have a blessed evening.
All right. Bless.
Bye.